Hey guys, and welcome back to the next tutorial. So in this tutorial we're going to be making this cool motion graphics intro. It's going to look like this. So yeah, it's really nice and it looks pretty professional. So I'm going to show you guys how you can do this and how you can play around to get different effects. So yeah, let's get started. Alright guys, so you can go and create a new composition. I'm going to have mine 720p 20 seconds long, and then you can just go ahead and drag in the footage. So I'm going to be using the stock footage. You can use any footage you want, and then just drag in the burn footage that you can download in the resources. Alright, so I'm just going to drag in the stock footage into my timeline, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick a spot in the video that I like that I'm going to use for my video. So maybe these people here in the meeting. Alright, so Control Shift D, gonna cut that beginning part out, going for about 7 seconds, so just about here, and then just delete the end part. Okay, and then come and create a new solid. Okay, you can choose any color you want. I'm just going for a blue, and then you can drop down the transform and make the opacity about 50%. Okay, then you can come to about 1 second and then keyframe the position, go to the beginning of your timeline and just move it down so it's no longer in. Right, so if you have to play it, it comes, it animates in, and then you can select your keyframes, press F9 to make them easy ease keyframes, and that will just smoothen up the animation a bit. Okay, so start off coming in slowly, speed up a bit, and then slow down towards the end. Okay, so, you can just zoom in there, but okay, so we're just going to do our animated lines now. So make sure you've got nothing selected, and at the pen tool here you're going to click on the 4 options and make it none and go to the stroke options and make it a solid color. And you're just going to click and then hold down shift and click somewhere else on your screen, and that's going to create your line, and then you can change the pixel width over here at the top. Alright, so now we're going to animate our line. So drop down your shape layer and you'll see here it says add with an arrow. So you're just going to click that arrow and we're going to add a trim paths. Okay, so you can come drop down your trim paths and make the start and end both 0. Okay, keyframe both the start and end, make sure they're both at 0, and then go in for about a second and make them both 100. Okay, so now you can't see it anymore, so all you have to do is take your bottom, your end keyframes, and then move them in a bit. Okay, and then you can move the last one out to choose how long you want your line to be. Okay, so you should have a line going across your screen like that now. Alright, so we can move the line where we want it. Make sure you move it by clicking on this little crosshair, this little anchor point. Okay, so you're going to move it like that. Don't try and move it by clicking on the actual shape because you can't move it properly. So anyway, and I think if you move it from here, yeah, you see you're going to also be changing the size and that. Just keep that in mind. Anyway, so we're going to control duplicate and move this one over here, control duplicate and move this one at the top here, control duplicate, and then we can change the color. So drop down the shape 1, come to stroke, change the color to like a cyan, collapse all of that, and then Control D, and then we'll move this one around here maybe. Okay, we'll move this one here, and then we'll do one more, so we've got 3 of each color, and then maybe over here. Alright, so now we don't want them all to start at the exact same time and end at the exact same time, so you're just going to go to your table here, and we're just going to move them in a bit so they're not all starting at the exact time. So your end result will look something like this. Right, so that looks good. So now we can create our text. So just say new text. Normally say a company. Alright, I'm gonna leave it at black, and then just scale it up pretty big. Okay, and then guys, if you want to align your stuff, like perfectly align it, you just go to Window and here align. Okay, and then you can align it here horizontally or horizontal left and so on. So if you horizontal center and vertical, it'll be perfectly centered instead of just trying to guess where the middle is. Alright, so we can duplicate that and drag it down, and this will be call now or something. Alright, so you can say whatever you would like to say. Now I'm just going to drag it down here. Okay, and then make sure you got nothing selected. So just click somewhere and then go to layer. Sorry, take your rectangle tool, and then click on your fold options, make it a solid color, and make your stroke a none. Okay, and make sure your full color is white, and then just drag it over your text like that. Okay, and then just drag it under your word, and then we can duplicate and drag it under. Okay, so company should be at the top, and then shape layer 8 will be under that one, and then core now shape layer 7 will be under that one. Just move it down. Okay, and then we can just shrink it a bit. Okay, maybe we could actually stretch it out far like that. So you can have it fit in like that if you want. I'm going to stretch mine out the sides and see how that looks. Okay, so now we're going to, well, we can first do this. So for your shape layer 7 and 8, should have renamed these, but you're going to just come to the mode, okay, and come under your track matte and just track matte the core now, come to your shape layer and track matte the company. Okay, so make sure you select alpha inverted matte, and then for the text that you've written. So now you'll see it's cut it out of the solid, out of the shape layer. Alright, so now we just got to animate our 2 bars and our text coming in, and then add the foam burn. Alright, so go ahead and click on the box that's behind your text, the shape layer. So for me it's shape layer 7. Alright, and then drop down the rectangle path, and then break the chain here where it says constrain proportions, so uncheck that, and then keyframe size and position. Then take those 2 keyframes and move them in about a second. Alright, and then make the first value for the size 0, and take the position and move it to where you want it to start. Alright, so for me it's going to be outside the screen, and then it will come in like that. Okay, so if you're doing the box just around the text, you would position it right here. Alright, so we'll do that just for the shape layer 8. So we'll come down, unbreak our chain, keyframe size position, go in a second, make the first value, first of all drag this out, okay, and then go back, make the first value 0, and move it out the side. Right, so now we have them both coming in at the same time like that. Okay, we might want to change, I'm going to change this one layer that's overlapping the text there. So let's just find it, it's this one. I'm just going to move it down there. Right, so now we just need to animate our text. So we'll start off with the core now text. So just drop that down, hit animate and position. Alright, and then drop down the range selector, go to the beginning of your text, or the beginning of your timeline, and then you're going to offset the Y position. Okay, going to move that down, and then you're going to keyframe the start 0, go in about a second, and then make it 100%. Okay, so now you can play around with these depending on how far your text goes and how long your bar is. So let's play around with it. Let's maybe make it 2 seconds. Alright, so maybe 1.5 seconds. Okay, so that looks good. As it's coming in, you can see the animation. Okay, so we'll select these keyframes and hit F9. Alright, and we also want to do that actually for our shape layers. So just select them, press F9, select the other box, and then select the keyframes and press F9. So now everything has the easy ease keyframes. Alright, so we're just going to do it for the company now. So we'll add the animate position. Okay, and we'll put the position down. Okay, go to our range selector, keyframe the start, go to 1.5 seconds, and make it 100%. So now we've got this cool effect here. Okay, and the text doesn't overlap because we've masked it to its own box. Right, so the last thing that we can do is add our burn footage. So we can either add it over everything, or we can add it just below our text and our bars so that remains clear. Right, and then just set the blending mode to overlay. Alright, so as you can see, we've got a lot of style now to the footage. Alright, so we could have made this a little longer, but like the overall animation, because it's only about 3 seconds long. But you will just have to extend the keyframes if you're not happy with the 3 seconds. But let's render it out. We'll just put the volume off there. Okay. Awesome. So that's a cool little motion graphic technique that you can play around with. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next lesson.